Welcome, Sarah. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here for sure.
Yes, me too. I'm excited to chat with, and it is an honor to have somebody who has been in the lash industry for so long, like you have, and to come on and share the wisdom that I know that you have to share today for this conversation.
Well, thanks. Yeah, absolutely. I know I have been around for a while, so, but still going strong. I still even see
Yeah.
a few clients every week just because I enjoy doing it, you
Oh,
know.
that's so awesome. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tapered back quite a bit, but
Mhm.
there's something special about just kind of still being in the mix and being able to play and that creative outlet and, socializing with the people that you've had forever, just making them feel good.
For sure. I know, like connecting with your clients. I just love one of my favorite things is just all the different people that there's people that I would probably never naturally come into contact with and have conversations with that I've gotten to
Mhm.
know and have interesting conversations with, and just
Yeah.
the variety of women that come in. It's really satisfying. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Mhm.
agree. So this conversation is really, I think, really supports the new lash artist
Okay.
and some of the very common challenges that we all go through. Like I can still remember the newbie days. And it is amazing to have somebody that's been as deep in the industry as you have been. I mean, having a product line, still seeing clients and being an educator for so many years. And I would love for you to share some of your background with the listeners.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm actually a third generation beauty industry person.
Oh,
So
cool. I love that.
my grandma had a little hair salon in what she called her breezeway in Illinois, where I grew up. And then my mom had a hair salon in the basement. And then I started doing lashes in 2008 in my spare bedroom.
Oh, I love it.
So I started at home as well, like a lot of artists do. I mean, when you're brand new, it sometimes makes sense if you're not bringing any money in to just do your practice models at home. And so that's exactly what I did back in 2008. I have a big makeup background as well. So I was a makeup artist before I got into doing lashes. And then in '08, when I learned about lashes, I signed up for a class. Back then, there was maybe two to three brands to train with, and it was
Hmm.
really expensive. I had to buy a kit that was, I think, $1,900 just for the kit
Oh, wow.
and take the class. And there weren't even enough people to take the class that they had to reschedule my class because no one
Oh
else
my
had signed
gosh.
up for it. It was just really new. Nobody really knew
Yeah.
about it yet. And but I was just totally obsessed with it. It was back before Facebook groups, even. There
Hmm.
was actually, like, back when the internet had forums. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Kind of miss those days in a way. It was really
Right.
interesting time. And so I'd found a forum with other few lash artists across the world. And I just went to like page 81 or whatever the end of it is, and just worked my way through and read every single thing and just
Yeah.
wanted to like gain as much knowledge as I could. So I really dove in deep right away to lashes. As soon as I knew about it, I just kind of knew that I would love doing it. I like detailed work, and I'm kind of a perfectionist. And I think that's very common
Hmm.
among lash artists. So started in my spare bedroom, and then I started getting some paying clients at my house, but knew that I didn't want to keep working from home for me. So I rented just a couple days a week at a spa, a little room, and I kept my makeup artist job. It was important to me as a new artist. I did not want to go into debt. I
Hmm.
didn't want to say, oh, okay, I'm going to get this huge loan and like open up this, salon. That's not for me. I knew that would be stressful. So I just kind of organically I went from my spare bedroom to one little room at a spa to one little room inside of this building. And then I hired one artist, then I hired another. And then eventually I took over the entire building that I was at, and I opened the first eyelash extension salon in Atlanta in 2010.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. And at that time,
Yeah.
there weren't many products either. So very
No.
small amount. And basically in Atlanta, I'll just say that I really did set like the standard for quality and pricing. Like I was like, I want to be as expensive as the market will bear. And so that means I've got to have the best products. So I just started researching and and just started with adhesive. Like, I got to find the best adhesive for my clients. There has to be something better out here. And I started with that, and then eventually developed a full product line, the Lash Collection. I actually flew to the manufacturers and hand chose all of the raw materials for our lashes. I've watched them make our lashes in the trays myself. I wanted to see, like, how are these people being treated? What are the conditions where they're working at like? And also just get my hands on the actual raw materials and be that involved in the product development.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love, what an inspiring story for someone, like, especially talking about working at home and how people can really judge that really harshly, when really, like, back in the day, like, there were plenty of hairstylists, plenty of estheticians like doing that. And yeah, we have, our state board regulations and stuff, but I think for somebody who's just starting out and wondering if that's making them legit or not right now, that's a nice little just reminder. Like, it's okay. Everyone starts somewhere, and then you can grow from there, and get out of or not. Yeah. Or not.
Right?
Exactly.
You can stay at home.
Exactly. And you don't have to have a product line if you don't want to, and you don't have to be an educator if you don't want to. You can just, like, be happy being a service provider. And that's actually, like, where I've gotten to where I'm like, I'm cool, just, like, chilling with my clients. I don't want to, like, manage people. I don't want a lash empire. Like, this is it. This is where I jam out.
Yeah, I am with you on that for sure. I think that there's this kind of this mentality of like, oh, a lash artist, you have to, like, do step 1, step 2, step 3, and that, like, makes you successful. But it's like, success is such an individual thing. Like, if you can be working at home on a schedule that aligns with your lifestyle and makes you happy and make the living, the money that you want to make, and do that, that's successful. Like, that's it. Like, it's so individual. And so, and Canada, it's so common in Canada to have home-based lash artists. It's very interesting up there. The mentality is very different. It's extremely common in Canada, but in the US, it's not as common. But absolutely, I think it's a great place at the bare minimum to do your practice models when you're new.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I was new, and I remember just, like, feeling very unsure of myself, of my work, like, kind of very scared when I would get somebody on my schedule. Like, I wanted a new client, but then I was, like, kind of freaking out internally when I had this new client. Like, oh my God, am I able to do good work? Like, am I going to get them all done? Like, what are their lashes going to look like? Are they going to like them? Am I going to like this person? And then sometimes they wouldn't even show up, and I would just be all worked up. I remember those days. I'd be like, oh, well, this person didn't even show up. So great. But the common challenge is really, like, that I see still in the Facebook groups, and that I know I experienced as well, is speed. And, getting models, getting people to come in and sit for you for that amount of time, because we know it takes hours, and just feeling good about the design that we're creating. So what really should we be focusing on? Because it can get overwhelming. We see on social media, especially these days, like, back then there wasn't anybody for myself to compare. I wasn't really comparing myself to a lot of people, but on social media now you can see this plethora of, like, these bomb, sets, and, oh, so-and-so is, and you think, like, they must be doing that in an hour, when really we're all still taking 2 to 3 hours. Like, that's pretty normal for most of us. What should we really be focusing on as a new lash artist to help, like, kind of disassociate from that comparison trap?
Yeah. I mean, it's a real thing that even veteran lash artists experience. Almost everyone I know experiences this. If you get on Instagram, you think you're maybe trying to, like, go on there or interact and get inspired, and you can leave feeling very deflated sometimes. I've felt that way for sure. And so I think it's important. You just have to, like, really get a grasp on the fact of, like, even the most amazing set of lashes that you're going to see on Instagram, that person didn't make that set of lashes when they were a newbie. Like, how many years and hours did they pour into their craft to make those set of lashes? Well, if you haven't done that yet, then it's unrealistic to expect yourself to do that. And it's just so hard with social media. Back before social media was so big, it was the demands weren't there of feeling like, oh, I have to like make this and make this awesome and all of that. It's like you really were competing more against yourself when you're not looking at social media. But when you get on social media, it's just a natural, it's like a beast. You gotta be careful. You gotta tame the beast, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And it feels like that people think that it's easy and that they will just be making money like super, super quick. Actually, somebody just DM'd me yesterday and they were like, if you know anyone that's looking for a space, like send them my way. And I'm like, I mean, I don't really keep up, but the schools are pushing out estheticians all the time. Yeah. And they do teach extensions around here. I think it's a pro and it's a con because she also said that finding a good lash person is like finding a unicorn or something. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of new people out there. And there's a lot of people that are just taking what they learned in school, which isn't always taught by like a person who has experience. It's maybe taught by like a video or something like that. And they think it's just, and I wasn't going to carry on the conversation because I wasn't interested in doing that. But my thoughts were like, people think it's easy and it's an easy way to make money and it looks fun. So I should just be able to do it right away. Like everybody else can. I mean, this person's doing it on TikTok. I could just watch these TikToks and do it too. And the truth is that it does take some fine motor skills that have to be practiced and practiced and practiced over and over again for you to gain that like speed and skill.
Absolutely. I always say there's no tips or tricks in the entire world that will ever take the place of hours logged in doing lashes. Like you have to put in the hours. And if you don't, it doesn't matter what tip or trick or cool thing that you learn. If you don't have the experience and your hands and coordination aren't there yet, then it doesn't, it doesn't really help. It's just a matter of doing the work. There's no shortcut. It's just experience. There's no big mystery, actually. It's like, it's just experience.
It's not your adhesive. It's not the lashes. It's not the tools. It's like you just like picking something and doing it.
Yeah. And doing it over and over and over. But I will say something that I really preach to my students and teach them about is like doing lashes is hard for sure. And it takes a long time. Like for me personally, when I was new, I practiced for 3 months straight, probably 5 or 6 days a week before I even took a paying client. Cause I had another job and I was just super motivated. And I just thought I can't have any excuses for why my work isn't good enough. So I have to like push myself to get good enough to take paying clients that I can feel proud of. And still, even then, it really took me a year to be happy with my work. And that was when we only had classic. So just doing classics for a year straight. And I finally was like, okay, anybody that lays on my lash bed, I feel prepared. I don't have that nervousness before they come, a new client. I feel like I can do this. And it took me a long time. But there's things that are easy for lash artists to do when they're new that can set them up for success while their lash skills grow. And this is what I love to teach my students is like, okay, you have to imagine like your dream lash business, and you have to go ahead and just start acting and looking the part of that, even if you're in your spare bedroom. So you can't make excuses for like, oh, well, when I'm in my, cool salon, I'm going to like start to not wear sweatpants or when I'm in my, no, so the easy things are to be on time. That's half of it right there. Half of it is being on time for every single client, being super professional, positioning yourself as like the authority to your client while still being there friendly, but it's like, you're not like best buddies. You're the provider and you want them to think of you as like, I want my clients to be like, oh, Sarah knows what's up with anything beauty related. I'm going to ask Sarah and I trust her position or opinion on that. And so like setting yourself up to look and act the part and give your customers amazing experience and create a beautiful, clean environment and run everything perfectly on time. If you can just do that from day one while your lash skills are growing, you can actually develop a clientele pretty easily. Not easily. It's not the right word. Nothing is easy in the lash industry, but those are things that people overlook sometimes because they're so focused on their lash work. but those are the things that actually clients notice, all of those things.
Yeah.
More than lashes sometimes. I mean, we've all touched up over lash work before where we're like, oh God, what is this mess? And the client was happy with it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. That's such a good point.
Lashes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole, just everything you just said, it was reminding me of like my early days. In my early days I was like one of 4 people in town doing lashes. So it's not like there was a lot to choose from. But when I think about like, wow, those people really stuck with me and they really seemed to believe in what I was doing. And, they gave me the feedback that I needed to make my work better. And I didn't take it, like so personally that I couldn't function. I was like, oh my God, right. I should have done both, I should have done that on both eyes or whatever. And I think that probably helped lend to some of the successes because I was trying to show up in that like professional way and still learn while I was practicing my skill. So like, what more could you be learning about being a professional or business or lashes in general? And especially with social media now, when you don't maybe have a lot of work to show, you could still be showing off your expertise by just spitting out lash facts for your clients. They don't know that you're also new to this. They know that you have some knowledge and like you can still teach the people that you want to come in to you, and you can, like you said, put yourself in that expert position. So I just love that whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, more than they do. So
exactly.
You are the expert. You have to act like it. And it can be hard at first, I mean, that's the thing is like, especially if you work for yourself, like you just have so many experiences that will be brand new to you, dealing with people. And so, if you just always act the professional, you're going to be okay, even no matter how stressful it is.
Yeah.
But, additionally, I'll add a little more if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Additionally, I think something really important for new artists to do. So like, that's my roadmap for success when I'm training people is like, okay, that aspect of your business is huge. Like you have to treat it like a real business. Even if you work for someone else, like you still want to be like the best in customer service and everything, communication with your clients. But then also it's like, if an artist is new, like you're not getting on huge sets of lashes if you're doing it right. And you shouldn't. Like if you're brand new, you might only be getting 40 lashes per eye on at first. And that's okay because you have to focus on building that perfect foundation of like
the quality,
placement, adhesive control. Yeah. All of those things, that foundation. And so it's important when you're new to be mindful of what you can deliver to your clients and only market as doing very natural lashes.
Yeah.
So you can start when you're newer by marketing, doing demi sets of lashes or trying to really reach those clients that are scared of what they see out on the street. Like,
I know exactly what you mean.
That client. There's women out there that think eyelash extensions look a certain way.
Yeah.
And they would love eyelash extensions if they were done in a very natural way.
Yeah.
And so trying to like reach those people, you can actually provide those people what they're looking for. And it's a win-win for both of them.
That's a really golden marketing tip right there.
Yeah.
To anyone listening, like that is a really great way to shift your possible insecurity around your skill level. And while you're building, how that question of like, how do I get clients? Like that is such a great way to go about it. I love that. So thank you for
of course.
Yes. Like, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Especially in the way that you framed that. I would have never have thought of it that way when I was new. We're just trying to like we get caught in that, like, I want to be able to give everybody exactly what they want, or I want to be able to do this like mega volume or like whatever I see on Instagram. When you're new, that's just not going to be the case unless you are some sort of extraordinary unicorn and you just picked up on it like crazy fast. Which is not unheard of, but most of us are, on the struggle bus a little bit. And I have always thought as well that to focus on, because I have been an educator for a short stint, but like focusing on the quality of your work over the quantity and speed at which you're getting it done is so much more valuable to you in the end, because it all grows together, but then you're going to be doing quality work faster and not just shit work fast.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's everything. Yeah. If you don't have that foundation. So like when I had my salon, I would actually put our brand new artists. Back then, there weren't people that knew how to do eyelash extensions. So I had to train everyone myself. And they pretty much went through a 1 year apprenticeship to get up to speed. We were charging top dollar for
Hmm.
services at our salon. And so it took them quite a while to get to be able to deliver that result. And it was like, the main thing for new artists is like making sure that they don't have stickies, saving enough time to check their work, and also lifted bases, like make sure the base of the extension is down. Like
Hmm.
just those two things, if you're a new artist, if you can focus on those when it comes to doing the lashes, so less of those each time. Just
Yeah.
you're not going to have zero of those when you're brand new. But if
Yeah.
you're always striving to have less of those, your work is going to improve. And then, like you were saying, Abby, like then the speed comes. The
Yeah.
speed comes later. But if the
Hmm.
speed is built on a rocky foundation, it's never, you're not going to get very far.
Yeah. Yeah. Your work's not going to be solid. Your retention will be crap. And I
Yeah.
mean, and you'll probably feel like you're going through a revolving door of clients all the time because people will like, they'll give you so many times. And even like I've gone through retention issues myself, and I've had people that love me, but if the lashes aren't lasting, it's frustrating for everybody. And I don't blame them for not wanting to pay for something that sucked. So
Yeah.
I had to like
Yeah.
figure it out. It was when I was in a suite and the heat, like the vent was open too big and the heat was ridiculous in my room. Like I would come in and my stuff would just be so hot. I was like, this is boiling my adhesive. Like
Oh,
it was just
man.
ridiculous. And so we had to tinker with that. And the human, I mean, it was just like, I loved being in my suite, but that is like the biggest problem is not being able to have control over the environment. You can just only do so much. And I had been doing lashes for almost 10 years at that point. And I was just in a new location and it doesn't matter if your lashes aren't lasting, people eventually going to be like, meh. And it wasn't everybody. Some of, they'll stick through it like while you figure stuff out. But I did have a couple of people where I was like, I mean, I'm not really sure if it's me or you, but I'm definitely going to try to figure out what I'm doing. And that's just that fact. But back to what you were saying is yes, like the quality is so important. And so that brings me to the next point that I see people struggle with is getting models. We really want clients, right? Like we want those paying clients, but we know we kind of have to go through that model phase first. And like the challenge is getting people who will be your model, but then getting those people to like come back when you need them to keep, improving upon your work and also taking care of their lashes in the meantime. And then another thing I didn't add to my outline was like pricing. Do you charge? Do you not charge? Like, what do you have to say around all of that? What's your advice?
Well, I definitely think like when you're, let's say, just totally brand new, you just took your lash class. I don't think you should be charging anything at that point. Like to me, your friends and family at that point are doing you the favor.
I feel like they're laying there for
laying
like
there.
5 hours.
Yes, they're laying there so long and they are not getting an amazing result. And that's okay. You have to be cool with that as the lash, like you have to accept that when you're new. It's a humbling experience of like,
Yes.
oh, I want to do this, but you can't. You're not giving them anything that they would pay money for. So you have to be appreciative and, maybe have the conversation with your close friends and family and just say, look, I need your support over the next, 6 to 8 weeks. I'm going to be asking you to come in as often as possible because I really want to like learn this skill and it takes a lot of repetition and I'm not ready to charge yet. And would you be able to help support me in that way? So I think like getting a commitment out of them and help letting them understand how meaningful it is that they're coming to you in advance can really help manage their expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's just like, oh, do you want to try some lashes? I've learned this thing. And then they come and it's, whatever. And then maybe they come back. I mean, you could have your models come in every week. Like when you're new, it's not like they're going to 3 week. If you're only starting with 25 lashes per eye, they're not going to go for a 3 week touch up anyway. Right.
Yeah.
So you could have them come in next week, like come in next week and let me add more before you've shed lashes and just you have to get like so much repetition. When I
And
was
it's,
training the people at my salon, they had to do like 4 days a week minimum. It's not like, oh, cram 4 people in one day. No, you need to do 4 different days, even 5 or 6 if you can, to
yeah.
get the repetition.
Yeah. And I think like it could be overwhelming, like time wise, but it's okay to give yourself a time limit too, and
Oh
just do
yeah.
what you can in that time and not make like every session a 5 hour. So when I see that, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I would have like really tried to break that up. I know like once you get going, you just don't want to stop, but just think of that
Mhm.
person's body and like their
Yeah.
bladder and their time as well. I was reminiscing recently because this client that came to me again after a long period, and how we connected originally was through somebody that sat for me in my very early days when I worked at this, like the first place that I worked at here in Springfield. And we had those really basic esthetician beds that don't go up or down. They fold at the top and on the bottom, but they don't height adjust. And
Yeah.
they're not very comfortable. And this poor girl also had rods in her back from a car accident. Bless her heart and everybody's back. She laid, for at least probably 2.5 to 3 hours for me while I was like, let me learn how to do lashes on you. Like, and it hurt my back, but like she, was struggling. And it's not that those beds can't be comfortable, but it was definitely not. And I'm just like, bless all those people who were so generous with their time and their trust. It's just
Yes.
I'm always just like, wow, shout out to those people.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, you have to be appreciative of those models. And yeah, they're probably not going to take as great care of their lashes. I mean, the bottom line is that when people get something for free, they just don't appreciate it as much as something they paid for. But
Yeah.
just think of it as like, well, this is helping give me experience with future clients that don't take good care of their lashes, because
Yeah.
you'll experience that as well. So
Yeah.
you have to just get in what you can and as often as you can. And there's no way around it. Like,
Yeah.
that's the only way. You're not just going to like, oh, I've slept 30 days in a row, but I haven't touched any lashes, but 30 days passed. So now I'm good at lashes. It doesn't work that way, right?
I wish. I
You
wish
got
that
to
I
put
could
them
just take it in and
on.
my brain would magically rewire
Yeah.
itself to that skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also it's a good time to practice like your consultations and how you want to talk to people and, like going over your policies. Like, yeah, it might be your family and friends and it feels kind of silly. And, I can't take anything that seriously if it's my family and friends, but also like when I want to run a business, I'm going to need to be able to say these things out loud and not
Yeah.
just think I'll handle it when the time comes. So like just the more practice you can get practicing your consults, looking at your design or whatever. I mean, it is not that you have to focus on that in the beginning. Just focus on like doing some lashes, but it's another thing that you can be practicing doing with your friends, with people you're comfortable with.
Yeah, that's really great advice for sure. Because yeah, if you're gonna, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. It's like, oh, if you're gonna wait for that magical time when these set of
Yeah.
circumstances have happened, and now I'm gonna become this different person or treat my business differently, it's a
Yeah.
lot harder than if you just start from the beginning.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
step into it now. Yeah.
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 Encourage your friends and family and model people to ask you questions, so you get used to answering questions about lashes and things
Mm-hmm.
like that too.
Yeah, totally. I feel like I've done that so much over the years that when I do get new people now and I kind of forget that people still don't know everything about lashes, like I'm just like, now people know enough about like that we can get our lashes wet like within 24 hours. Like that's still going
Yeah.
around. And so I just give them like a little mini science lesson and I'm like, yeah, still got it. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
and so then the next challenge is, well, we've had our friends and family as models, but now they're not paying me. Now they're not like showing up for their appointments or they're not sharing my posts. And like, I just wish they would. Why don't people do this? And people get really upset when the friends and family don't show up for the paid appointment or, don't support in that way. And I know you and I both know that friends and family are often not going to be your clients and or not be your best clients. And that's okay. What do you have to say around that?
Yeah, I mean, they're just not. They're not going to be your clients. They have their own life happening. And as important as your lash journey is to you, they're on their own journey that's just as important to them of whatever they've got going on in their life. So it's not realistic to expect them to become clients. Or, I mean, it's great if they want to share your post there, but there's just some people out there that are like that. There's those people out there that are like, yeah, they share everything. And then there's people out there that aren't like that. And you have to just meet everyone, whether it's a model, a client, any person that you interact with. If you meet them where they are, it can help set you up to have correct expectations. So if somebody is not the type of person to go on social media and post about their lashes, you have to accept that and not be upset at them for not doing it. So you just have to be realistic with each person that you're dealing with.
Yeah. And really think about like, you know, who is your ideal client? And especially like if you know your family and friends, you might know their life a little better. And maybe they're just not in the position, you know, to support you in that way. I am finally giving my mom lashes for the first time in my career, and she is loving them. I mean, she's like, why didn't I do this years ago? And I'm like, well, you live 90 minutes away and, you know, you just retired a few years ago. Like you're always working. And so it wasn't really conducive for her to come over, but I was never mad, you know, about that. I mean, also she lives 90 minutes away. Like the fact that we get to have that time together now is really special to me. And no, I don't charge my mom because I don't want to. Like that's on me. And I'm not mad about it. She tips me and we go to lunch. That for me is the gift, like just seeing her reaction. Now, would I be like that with everyone? No, I'm going to charge my friends. You learn too along the way that it's best to not create a cause for what might be like resentment or, you know, weirdness in those relationships. So just kind of separate that business and personal aspect. I know that people can, you know, like your aunt or your cousin or whatever is coming in and they're not paying full price and they're bitching about this and that, and you're getting angry about it. Well, okay, look in the mirror and let's fix this. You know, like who let that happen? You did.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're going to be mad about it. Now you got to fix it.
Well, it seems to me like things just kind of naturally go the direction they're supposed to anyways, in general in life. So it's like eventually you'll get so busy that once you build a regular clientele, that it's like those friends and family that might eventually be paying like discounted prices for lashes. It's like, oh, you're going to get too busy to get them in anyways, and they're going to kind of just fall off. So that kind of just happens naturally.
Yeah, I agree. You know? And the same with clients that aren't a good fit. Eventually they just work themselves out, and that's okay. And I know it can feel really disheartening, or I don't know, the end of the world if people leave you or whatever, but that doesn't mean it was really about you or anything. It just means that you now have space for somebody who is a better fit, who is a good fit, who might be the most loyal client you ever had. And it's okay. There's plenty to go around. There's always new people out there.
So many new people that you can put lashes on. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So having been in the lash industry as long as you have and being an educator, I mean, you were training people from the get-go. What are some of the more, like this is just kind of a personal curiosity of myself, but what are some of the more poignant like changes that you've seen in lash and lash education over the years?
Well, I mean, definitely back, you know, when I first started doing lashes, there really was no continuing education whatsoever. It just didn't exist. Like there was we'll call it advanced class with one of the big brands. But
yes,
then
I know.
Yes, I learned that they're there with the newbies at the beginner class at the same time. So there really wasn't any like dedicated courses that gave people advanced education. And now, of course, it's like, it's gone completely swung the other direction. And there's just a huge array of continuing education classes, from retention to styling to this, to that, to anything that you can think of. There's so much continuing education opportunities out there available. And I think that's great. But I sometimes have seen newer artists where they think, oh, I'm just going to hop from class to class to class, and then something's going to unlock and I'm going to be great. But you have to still put in those hours. Like continuing education is awesome and everyone should always continue and strive to learn. But if you're brand new to lashes, just give yourself some time focusing on those fundamentals. And then once you feel super solid and confident and great about your work, then start exploring more of the other advanced educations.
Yeah. The integration I think integration is really important. And one of my favorite quotes that I've heard in the last few years was like, knowledge isn't power, applied knowledge is power. Like you have to, it's not just like hearing it and getting it and like, cool. It's actually going and then applying that and putting it to use. So yeah, I was never much of a, I mean, as much as I guess maybe I would have liked to have been at some point, I was not much of a certification collector, probably because I went from volume and then into being a trainer within like the next year or so. And that was, I mean, that was huge. That helped me refine so much just being around all these other people who were going to be educators too, and getting access to that kind of behind the scenes thing and then moving to I moved to Nashville for a little bit. One of the places that I worked, the demographic was so varied that I got so much experience on different types of lashes and styling and people. And that was just real life experience. And now you can take courses on, all of these things, but that didn't actually exist then that I know of specifically. So it was just like real life experience. So
nothing beats that. Like nothing does. Like that's a very great point about like applying the knowledge, because I mean, I'm definitely guilty of that. Not necessarily with the lash class.
Same.
Anything.
Same.
It's like, I read this whole thing or watch this podcast. And then I'm like, cool. And then it's like, I'm right back into like a regular thing that I always do. Like it's hard to break habits.
Absolutely.
And so it takes a lot of self-control to like make yourself apply new knowledge to your practice in any way.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. And it's just something that I have to remind myself of as well, because it's easy, especially, I mean, I've moved into like the coaching, health and fitness coaching and all of that. And just like the coaching world in general, it can make you feel like you don't have the answer yet. Like you don't have it yet. And really like all you need to do is just go back to the basics and kind of assess your own gaps, and then like, what do I already have access to? What can I already do? And then do I need something extra? But when the social media and all of that is such a wild world, and I love soaking up knowledge. That's what I love podcasts for. Instead of buying every course, like I'm just like, is there a podcast I can listen to and be inspired? I've invested a lot, and I'm like, sometimes the answers are already within.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you can get like pulled in so many different directions, then and then it's like at the end of it all, you end up like going back to like something that you already knew to begin with, but maybe you just feel secure enough about.
Yeah, sure. And that's great. Like it's sometimes just part of our own little evolution and trying things out, and that's like, there's nothing wrong with any of that. So what do you think that we could still improve upon when it comes to lash education?
I mean, one thing that I see is those like short 1-day lash courses that are going to teach you classic, hybrid, volume all in one day. Like I just can't get on board with that.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, my beginner class is 3 days and honestly, I want it to be like 8.
Yeah. I was going to say the little mind blown emoji comes to mind whenever I hear that type of thing, because I know like I was literally 2 people in my very first class and it was 1 day, and the knowledge portion was great. Like I understood that, but then the actual practice part, my model ended up having to go to the bathroom, and then it was just like sort of over, and I in no way, shape, or form felt ready for anything. I was like, I really feel like I could have come back for like some extra time on that.
Yeah.
So I do agree.
I mean, anything is possible. Like I'm not going to say it's impossible.
Yeah.
I will say that the more practice someone can have with an educator helping them, the more set up for success they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Just that's all there is to it. Like it just requires so much detail. And I think people are shocked when they learn how to do lashes, how in depth of a procedure it is. And so to have someone helping you for more than one model can really set up a student for success. Like they have to understand the basics.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
know what to look for, you know?
Yeah. Even just the smallest, like you adjusting their hand while they're doing something is huge, you know, and being able to be there in person for that. And I live in an area where, gosh, traditionally there has just been less available in-person education here when it comes to lashes. I went to Kansas City, that's only a few hours away, but then I flew to Seattle twice. Like, I mean, that just happened to be where the things that I wanted to go were. And I had to get out of the state of Missouri for that. I don't think that's like that now here, but people just really get stuck in this like, well, I can just learn it online. And I just think the in-person hands-on is so, so valuable because you just don't know what like a small tweak in, like I said, like hand placement could do for you, or seeing how somebody holds their tweezer and just showing them a different way to hold their tweezer, or the under eye pad placement. My God. I mean, like some of the scariest moments for everyone, you know? Like what is happening? The person's blinking. Oh my gosh, how do I do this? So it's just, I agree.
Yeah, the gel pads are, whew, those are like, I remember when I was brand new, I picked a model, a good friend of mine, and she had like super high cheekbones and kind of like a more puffy-ish eye.
Yeah.
And put the pad on, and it was like every time she closed, it just went right up into
Yep. I know exactly what you mean.
What do I do? Like I can't. I swear I spent 25 minutes putting the gel pads on. Yeah, I wasn't charging or anything yet. I was still in practice mode at the beginning, but I just had this moment of like, I can't do this. Like, I don't think if I can't put the gel pads on, how am I going to put the lashes on?
Yeah.
So having someone to help you through that and just the ongoing support, like doing lashes can be a lonely business, a lonely endeavor. And so having an educator that cares about you, that's going to give you that continuing education and support and help you through those challenging times is priceless to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, my students text me. I'm like, just text me anytime. Like, I'm fine because I want to help you. And I remember when I was learning, I had no one to text. And it was just me. Like, I've got to figure this out. I've got to get these gel pads on her. And I got to get these lashes on. I got to do it somehow. And to have someone there to go, yep, it's okay. Try doing this can really help get them like off on a better start, I think.
Yeah. Helping people feel more confident. And I would say like, those are some really good points to look for. If you're listening and you've already started doing lashes, but you're, you know, maybe you want some continuing education, like looking for those types of add-ons with whatever you're investing in. It like look for something that's really worth it and not just the cheapest thing. Like maybe you have to save up a little bit longer for it, but you can still practice what you're doing in the meantime. And then if you are interested in getting certified in lashes, then those are really good points to take away from and something that you should look for that will give you the foundation that you really need to be successful and feel confident in what you're doing.
Yeah, if the confidence is one of the hardest parts about being new to lashes, you know, you just don't have it yet. And again, it comes back to that same thing of like the experience. The only thing that gives you confidence is doing something over and over.
Yep. I was thinking when we were talking about those little moments of like correcting somebody in person, and what I always would catch is people like really bearing down on the under eye pad with the tweezer as they're trying to hold isolation and grab a lash. And like the whole like eye is open underneath. And that is one of those really easy to miss things because clients or your models, a lot of times either they don't want to speak up or they don't really know that anything is wrong. Maybe they don't even really feel it. Or they think like, I don't want to interrupt her. You know, I don't want to say this is uncomfortable. I don't want to offend this person and make them feel bad. But having that eye open like that can actually cause that, like that dryness. It can cause some redness. It can cause irritation for the client. And also, like, don't be poking through your iPads like with your sharp ass tweezers, So just seeing it, that's just another reason like why in person is just so invaluable, and having somebody experience, because I just know like in the schools, they're doing all of this, but I'm like, if you don't have an educator that has actually practiced lashes, I just like, what support, like, what good is this? Like, they're getting some basics, but who's telling them if this is right or wrong? And that's why it's like, that's such a different conversation. But I'm just like, I don't know if there's like a big benefit to these schools just offering this if there's not actual hands-on and ongoing support for these students. What's the point? Just give them the basics and have them take a certification if they want to outside of school. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts around that since I brought it up?
Yeah. I mean, I think for schools to stay competitive in their market, most of them want to offer some sort of lash enhancement, whether that be lash lifts or lash extensions. But in my experience, the majority of educators at aesthetic schools are not very well versed in lashes, not always, but quite oftenly it's just, one of the other instructors there, and they're going to just have them teach the lashes. And I think it can be useful to give students an idea of like, would they like this or not? But beyond that, I haven't seen a lot of education coming out of aesthetic schools that actually sets a student up to be a lash artist. I think that's a different type of education versus more of like an introduction to lashes in the schools. And I think schools could, if any schools are listening, do a good job by telling their students that, hey, this is an introduction, but it's a specialty all in its own. It's not an add-on service. I don't know how many hair salons when I lived in Atlanta would call me, oh, we want one of our girls to learn how to do lashes.
Yeah.
And I would go, it's not like that. Actually, you're not just going to send your girl in and she's going to take a class and then see like 2 people a month doing lashes. It doesn't work that way. Like you pretty much have to almost devote your entire life to it when you're brand new if you want to get good, right? So it's a complete specialty all on its own. And I think aesthetic schools should impart that information to their students to let them know this is an introduction. And if you want to go into it, they should partner with a reputable educator in their area that they can send their students to.
Yeah, I really, I agree, because I think there's too much of this like painting a dreamy picture and like everyone can own their own business, but like there's no like reality check. If they frame it in the right way, it is a great way for maybe somebody who like me, who might have been interested, but wouldn't have known if they weren't introduced to it in school.
I'm sure there's just a wide array of things happening at schools. And there might be schools that are teaching people really great lashes and schools that aren't. And, it's up to students to do their due diligence. Like,
absolutely.
If you really are serious about being a lash artist, then you've got to like do your research and find reputable educators to work with. And if they're doing 30 people in a hotel ballroom in one day to teach you how to do classic, hybrid, and volume, you're not really going to get the experience that you need to specialize in.
Yeah. Could you imagine having, I can't even imagine trying to guide that many people. Like honestly, a group of 5 newbies is plenty. Like, oh my gosh. So in your journey, what has been really helpful for you in your growth and helping you become who you are today? Like if there's books or resources or whatever support, like whatever you have to say there.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think a big part of it is just not giving up and having a problem-solving attitude is so important.
Yeah.
Because when it's you and your model or you and your client alone in that room, you've got to find a way to make things work. And so I think like having extreme patience is really important to becoming a great lash artist, being patient and just being dedicated to the standards. If you're just 100% dedicated to doing quality work, everything else will come. Speed will come, clients will come, everything will work itself out. And so that was just kind of for me from day one. Like I knew it was like, okay, I'm not cutting a single corner. I'm going to give my 100% to do the very best that I can every time. And that's just something like tried and true in life. You can't go wrong with that. And the same applies to lashes. So I think that's really the biggest part of it, is just like managing expectations, and any new thing that comes about, new service, new trend, like make sure whatever you're doing aligns with your ethics.
Yeah. So that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So just sticking with quality, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. It sounds like, do you feel like you have quite a bit of like patience and grace with yourself?
Not always. No, absolutely not. So I'm way harder on myself than I would be with anyone else, of course, as most people are. So no, but I've gotten better. So I think this is the thing too, of like learning lashes or owning a business, anything like that. It's these valuable lessons that you learn. Managing people. Oh my God, I learned so much. I mean, I knew nothing about that.
Yeah.
Like no one in my family has ever owned a business. No one has college degrees. I come from pretty humble, basic background, and I made an amazing business. And I had to just figure that out along the way. That teaches you to become more patient with yourself, because if you aren't, the stress levels are just going to be too much. So you have to learn to like let things roll off your back a little bit that maybe you wouldn't have before.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously have a really powerful growth mindset, like growth oriented mindset. And it does sound like you must have learned a lesson or two along the way, because I think also it's like, it's easy to say like, have patience, but are we actually patient with ourselves, or are we patient with the other people or the situation? And then what are we doing afterwards? Like, are we crying? Are we like whining about it? Are we complaining? And I see a lot of this on Facebook groups, and people are just like, I'm just so upset with myself. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, no, you don't, it like valid, but really lashes, I've always said lashes takes patience, persistence, practice, and more patience, or more practice, or whatever one I decide to like repeat, because that's really what it is. But I've also had to learn over the years, like we also have to like extend that to ourselves a little bit as we're trying to learn and grow and figure things out. And I mean, like you've said, it can be a lonely world as a business owner too. And you just have to hold on to your own dreams and believe in yourself, like just enough, and not beat yourself up every time a client doesn't like what you do, as hard as it can be. We just have to like not take all of that stuff so personally, but like, okay, well, what can I do better the next time?
Absolutely. People talk about like the North Star principle, and so it's like, if I know when I'm learning lashes that it's like my North Star is perfect isolation, adhesive control, placement. Those are my three things that I just harp on my students about. You have to get those down. And so if no matter what your day was and challenges that came about your day, if you know, like, yeah, but I was dedicated to doing those things correctly. Did it go perfectly? Maybe not, but I know that that's what I'm dedicated to doing. Then it's okay. You have to remind yourself of, I'm on this path, and progress is incremental. It's not, you're going to basically make progress one lash at a time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of lashes.
Quote.
Each one you put on is like, an opportunity to like focus on your fundamentals. And that's how you get better. And that's, I think, where the patience comes from, is reminding yourself of that.
Yeah. Like that is really lovely. And I just want to thank you again for sharing so much wisdom, and congratulations. I don't know if you really need it, but like congratulations on just like being in the industry this long, and your success, and still being here and still wanting to show up with an obvious passion for helping people be successful in this business, because it can also be a revolving door of lash artists. But I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for sharing everything. And I would love for you to share where our listeners can connect with you, like on social media.
Sure. So our Instagram is just at the Lash Collection. I do have a TikTok, but I don't go on it as much as I should. And I have a funny story about why, because something got messed up. Something crazy happened to it. So I have been trying to revive it a little bit, but honestly, Instagram is the best place to find me.
Yeah. And then what courses do you offer?
So I teach a beginner and refresher classic lash extensions, beginner and refresher volume eyelash extensions. And I'm also a certified Elibana educator. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
teach Elibana lash lamination, brow lamination. I have the Lash Collection as my own product line, of course, that I love. And when I wanted to get into lash lifting, I was like, Elibana poured into their product line everything
Mm-hmm.
that I poured into mine. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to reinvent the wheel and I'm going to partner with them. So I've partnered with Elibana for that portion of products and education. And then the Lash Collection is everything eyelash extensions.
Amazing. And you're in Atlanta still?
I'm not. So I'm
Oh,
in St.
okay.
Petersburg, Florida now.
Oh, when
Mhm.
did I
Yeah.
miss that you moved? I
Yeah.
don't know. I just did.
Yeah. So, yeah. So now I'm in St. Petersburg and we have a beautiful little shop down here with an academy and a small storefront. And
Oh,
we do all of our
awesome.
shipping Monday through Friday here from Florida.
Awesome. That's so cool. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.